Hello guys, welcome in this video. I'm now Jake, there are Rufy and Nami. And here I will show you what's the best, strongest pal in the game. So some people are thinking that the best pal in the game is this thing. And the reason is that this thing has a skill that gives him extra stats based on how many Swees you have on your team. So essentially how this works is that the Swees I think are powering up his defense, while he's powering up his attack. In fact, if you power up a Sweepa, you'll only get a boost on attack. While if you power up a bunch of Swees, you'll power up his defense instead. So this means that if you power up a Sweepa 4 times up to 4 stars, you will get a pretty massive boost that should go around plus 100%. While boosting this Swees, you will slowly power up the Sweepa defense. So for example, this is interesting because by powering up only the Sweepa, you can get very crazy boosts. In fact, the first time you power up a Sweepa, this buff goes from 48% to 53%. It's a 5% extra. And on the second level, you get even a bigger buff. So by just catching a bunch of Sweepas and powering them up in this thing, you get a very big buff. But this buff only applies to the Sweepa, obviously. With this strategy, you will essentially have a single pal that is very strong, but it's just a single pal in your team. So I asked to myself, what if I could be able to use or 5 of my pals? So imagine instead of having a single Sweepa, so a single pal that is super boosted in attack, imagine having multiple of them. And first thing to keep in mind is that you can do this also with Bigard, but the difference is that when you fight, if you use an attack like this, for example, now I use his 3 attacks, when you go down, essentially he will have his own cooldowns and he will be able to use the attacks once again. So if you fight with a pal that can be rided, if you can ride that pal and use this combination, you ride the pal, you attack, then you go down, essentially the pal will be able to attack more often. So this is something to keep in mind, and this is why the combination with the Sweepa and Zwee is better than the combination with Elizabee and Bigards, because with this technique you can attack more often. So this makes Sweepa better than Bigard and than Elizabee. But again, you have a single pal. You're playing with just a single pal. Is there a way to play with five pals and make all of them fight? And the answer is Hoocrates. That's pretty funny. When in team increases the attack power of Dark Pulse. This is brave, but if I remove him, for example, let's remove them and put in 3 Hoocrates, and let's also put in, for example, a Dark Pulse that could be stronger. This Lupmon, for example. Now let's check. So this guy is getting a 31% because the first level gives 1% extra, but then the second level gives 2% extra. So you go from 10 to 11 to 13, and I think that the future buffs requires more parts but gives even bigger buffs. So I think this passive gives 10. Now it's getting 31 because there are 3 of them, and those buffs also apply to Lupmon that right now has a 51% buff. So this means that theoretically you could have 5 Hoocrates that at the last stage with 4 stars. I'm pretty sure I didn't manage to do this because I'm playing on hard right now and I don't want to change my difficulty on custom to test things. This is my main save file. I'm playing this since 72 hours, doing a lot of testing but all legit, never cheating. Just yesterday I completed to explore those parts up here, and now I need to explore the Vulcan. And I still need to fight bosses because I'm level 38. It's much tougher if you play on hard and if you didn't play the game for 150 hours. I'm at 72 hours right now. So I didn't manage to catch more Hoocrates, but again, by taking a look at other videos, information on Google, I'm pretty sure this buff should go from 10% to 11 to 13, maybe to 15 or 17, and then to 20 or even above, even more than 20%. This means that having 5 Hoocrates in your team means all the 5 will have probably a plus 100% buff to attack. So you won't have a single Sweepa that is buffed. You will have 5 pals and all 5 of them have a plus 100%. They do double the damage. If you want, you can switch one of your bad pals for a very strong pal that has the same kind. For example, this is a dark type, right? So instead of having 5 Hoocrates, I can have 4 Hoocrates. For example, get a 80% buff instead of 100% buff. For example, put in a very strong pal. In this example, we are putting in the Lopon. But for example, I could put in some legendaries that are dark type, and they will get buffed by around 80, if not almost 100%. This depends on, again, what's the last buff you get. Okay. So first thing to keep in mind, you can do this instead of having to play with a Sweepa. You can play with those. And Sweepa also gets the buff on defense, but what you need to keep in mind is that when you fight, essentially, you can very easily make your pals dodge by throwing the pal, and then just recalling the pal and throwing another one, or the same pal, to make him dodge. So leaving just the pal there taking damage, it's not smart. Theoretically, you should still make him dodge. So defense doesn't really matter. You don't need to boost your defense to up 1000 or even more. It's more important to have the attack, so they throw the pal in, let the pal attack, switch, and call another pal. And this also resolves the problem of having to ride the pal, because when you ride the pal, okay, you will be able to do multiple attacks, but since you're fighting close to your pal, you risk to getting attacked, and this on hard is not something you want that happen. Instead, with this strategy, you can throw a pal, switch pal, recall, dodge, switch, recall, dodge, switch. You can keep attacking over and over using 5 pals. And these 5 pals, you can teach them, thank you to the fruits, different skills. So for example, you could have an Hoocrates that has fire attack, an Hoocrates that has water attack, and etc, etc. So you can have 5 pals that have different skills, and at the end, a 5th pal that instead of being the pal that buffs, for example the Hoocrates, can be a legendary that will benefit from these buffs even more. For example, you catch a legendary that has a very good amount of buffs, and at level 50 is more than 1000 attack, and if he gets an 80% or even more, he can go above 2000 attack. Okay, and it's maybe a legendary that you can ride, or again you can just use this. So there are 2 combos essentially. Hoocrates is probably not so amazing as a pal. At the end of the day, it's probably kind of similar to Sweepa. And to be fair, the fact that I was showing Hoocrates was just a prelude to the real strongest best pal in the game. And it was also kind of a joke, because there is another pal that has this strategy. I don't know if there are others, to be fair. Maybe there are others that do the same with fire type, I don't know. I didn't find that yet, but I did find this thing here. Fox Cycle. So this Fox Cycle only has Muscle Lead, plus 50%, and at 2 star it's getting a 13% extra. So again, I think at 4 star it will get at least 20% extra. So it will go alone, already up to 50% if I buff him. And yeah, he has the same ability. So this means that theoretically, you can do this. And you could have, Fox Cycle is not Hoocrates. Notice that I already arrived at more than 1000 attack. Essentially without having any crazy buffs. I just buffed Fox Cycle in the statue, and I made him level 2. So if you have 5 Fox Cycles, you can do the same thing we said about Hoocrates, but on an already much stronger PAL. Because again, this is not Hoocrates. This is a much stronger PAL, and it's mainly Ice type. This means that this guy is built to be strong against dragons, so it's very good to fight against some of the strongest bosses or boss of the game. But again, you can either make one super strong and give him a lot of skills, or you can try slowly to get a lot of them all strong and give all of them different skills with different statuses, so that you can just run around with them and that's it, without needing to change anything else. The only thing you're missing in this kind of team is a mount. And here it comes Frostalion. That is an Ice type. So, thank you to this strategy, you can have 4 Fox Cycles, for example, that will boost your attack up to 480 if not more percent, plus the Frostalion, that it's one of the strongest parts in the game. It's a legendary, so thank you to this you could be able to boost Frostalion up to 80% if not more extra attack, and have the ultimate PAL. So the strongest PAL in the game is a legendary that is boosted thank you to the Fox Cycles or the Hoocrates, but I think this combination is much better. So try this, try to catch a bunch of Fox Cycles. You can just catch 5 of them and use them for your bosses. Even if you don't combine a lot of them, you will already do a lot of damage. You will already be strong enough to be able to fight everything. Just like this. You have 5 pals, and all of them can very easily have more than 1000 attack and help you fight every kind of boss, even if you don't buff them too much. But if you catch a Frostalion, and if you're able to create a very strong Frostalion, then you will be able to use 4 Fox Cycles to buff that Frostalion and make that absolutely overpowered. And you can also ride the Frostalion, fly around, and use the trick of mounting and going down, so that the Frostalion can keep attacking over and over again, multiple times. So this is my definitive answer on what's the strongest PAL of the game. In my opinion, it's not the Sweepa. Again, if you want to just have a tank, it's the Sweepa. If you don't care about a tank, this combination with Fox Cycles and plus, if you want, a Frostalion, is the strongest you can have. You can create a team that is totally overpowered, and you can fight using not only a single PAL, but all 5 of them. All 5 of them can be overpowered and be switched and use a lot of different attacks that will destroy everything, boosting you and making you go through every kind of boss you want. Again, I'm not Jake, these are Rufy and Nami. You can see us streaming live almost every day, so take a look and try to sustain me if you feel like, with a like, a comment, and by subscribing. Have a nice day and enjoy this amazing game. Bye bye!